We have this writer-director Vibhu Puri here in Gondal near Rajkot, where he's filming his debut film along with Ayushmann Khurrana and Pallavi Sharda, and it's on Shivkar Talpade, an unsung hero, and we'll find out more about that. A huge pleasure to have you on Bollywood Hungama.
Thank you so much.
Okay, since yesterday evening, I've been reading about Shivkar Talpade a lot. You know, somehow I felt like, as an Indian, I felt a huge pride in the guy, and we never knew about him somehow.
It's really sad that we love to ignore our own history. History is always looked down upon in our country, which is really very sad. We've got our own lovely heroes who've changed the world in a certain way, and Shivkar Talpade was one of them. Completely unsung. The day I read about him, I was taken aback. I was shocked, and I would like to think about myself as someone who is aware of things, and I was very sad and I felt very miserable. How come no one of us has heard or read about him? I'm not even blaming I'm not even talking about a rickshawala. I'm talking about an educated class people like you and me to whom world has been kind. We've gone to good schools, we've gotten good education, and still we have no idea about this man. And somewhere when I read about him, it was like the man was shouting out to me.
Where the germ of this idea came to you for making this movie, and that was as your debut film?
I'm a trained filmmaker. I went to the film school, the FTI Pune Film School, and I studied there for 4 years. So there is nothing else that I can do in life, you know. So technically, I can only write and direct films. I cannot do anything else. So when I was working on my previous film, which I could not make, thereafter there was a void in my life, in the sense I wanted to, and I cannot say a story just for the heck of it. Yes, because I'm a filmmaker today, I have to go and make films. I cannot do that. A story has to come to me. I have to get genuinely excited and rooted by the story, moved by the story, and then I will start working on it. And this is what happened with this man. When I was reading a lot. Generally, you would tend to meet people and discuss ideas and stories, and I was really excited to make a biopic on life of J.R.D. Tata. So it was very fascinating that he was the first. He did so much of whatever he did, and still a very humble man. And when I was working on it, what really fascinating was that he was the first guy to hold a pilot license in India. He was the first Indian to hold a pilot license, and he flew a plane from Karachi to Bombay. So this completely was like, oh, I thought it's a great idea to make a film on. The first flight that happened in India from Karachi to Bombay, and making it today when Karachi and Bombay are two different countries. Right. You know, and one man joined these two countries together way back. So I was working towards that, and during that while I realized, what if J.R.D. Tata had all the money in the world to be able to do that, to be able to be able to fly, to be able to have a pilot license and all of that. What if there was someone who did not have money and still could do it? And that's when serendipity genuinely happened. I was reading, meeting people, and someone introduced me to Shivkar Talpade. He said, do you have any idea about Shivkar Talpade? And I read about him, and I could not believe myself. I could not believe what I was reading. I could not believe what I was coming to know. It was like an eye-opener, where this man, from a very humble being, went on to make a plane and actually flew it. So that's how it sort of fermented for me.
Okay. Now, something about yesterday's shoot that you guys were doing. We were seeing the entire period set that you guys had, and that coquettish and jealous moment that was happening between the boy and the girl.
It was the last day of the shoot. We'd finished all our bigger chunks. This was just like a small little chotu shoots, which we call eased out shoot for the last day. It was a very small little moment where the girl is coming down with some Britishers, and how the boy looks at her, and just a small little moment between them, and she ignores him and goes away. As simple as that. Because again, the film, yes, it is about the first man who flew and all of that, but still, my whole story is an intimate story about him. an intimate
Sitara
story
Devi.
about him and the girl he loved. It's about the two
Is
of
there
them.
any factual reference of that girl, or is it entirely fictitious?
Uh,
Because
a
the synopsis
lot.
says that it is he falls from the grace because of her, and he eventually does what he does because of her as well.
Try to capture that man's spirit, that man's um, ideology, and then weave a whole narrative in a way which is audience friendly. I do not want to make a documentary about anyone. I want to make a film at the end of the day should entertain you, should move you, should make you laugh, should make you cry. So we've added a lot of things. We've kept the core essence there, and we've added a lot of uh, other emotions and tried to make it in a way uh, which is very audience friendly.
Very audience friendly. Okay, now you've been a part of Sanjay Bansali's some would say group as well. You've written Guzarish and you've written Savaria as well. You've written the lyrics for certain songs in Guzarish as well. Now, when we have a look at the set somewhere, when you're talking about 125 years down the line, before this present era, many of the shops, their names are in English, and the entire ethos which are there. Is it totally representative of the period that you've set your story in, or it's like somewhere we feel that Neverland moment of Sanjay Bansali cinema as well?
Not at all. Actually, if you see, in 1890s, Bombay was modeled as London. They wanted to make London out of Bombay.
Okay.
And where Shivkar Talpade lived was what we today call as a Dukkarwadi Chira Bazaar, which is again town. Even if you go to town today, forget the suburbs. If you go to town today still looks to you as West. It's still, there are balconies, there are very French windows. If you just stroll down the town, go down towards Taj and the by lanes behind it, it looks like a different country altogether. That is what I wanted to replicate again. When you talk about Bombay 1890s, people would imagine it to be a very dull, dry sort of a film. But I want to make it with a lot of colors, with a lot of energy, with a lot of and yes, there is a Western street, but there's an Indian part to it. So and it's a fairy tale for me. It's a lovely, beautiful fairy tale for me. It's a story about a man who went on and made a plane.
Do we see this film being dubbed and maybe released for a worldwide audience as well? Because something of this sort should be watched by a lot of people. Because it's a revelation of sorts for many.
Yeah, and also what is happening today, the whole world is shrinking. Foreign cinema gets released in our country, our films gets released outside to not only to the diaspora audience, but also to say in a small little town in Germany. This film does have a potential to go out and venture into newer markets, not the traditional markets of UK, US and Australia, but smaller unseen markets, somewhere say some small little town in Poland. It's a very universal film. For me, it's not about the first Indian making a plane, but it's also about an underdog going and achieving what he sets out for in a very generic way. For an auto rickshaw driver who turns out and says that today I do not have the money, today I'm not educated, but tomorrow will be mine. Because if he could do such a task, so can I. Right. And that emotion is very generic, very universal.
Okay, and now Shastri, Mithun Chakraborty is playing that character. Now, I believe if whatever the Wikipedia says, that guy was equally instrumental in the first airplane coming along. He was a guru of Talpade, and Mithun Chakraborty is a fantastic actor. Now, how do you look at Shastri's character? Because so that Ayushmann Khurrana is not overshadowed and all that stuff, because we have all these star systems and all that stuff that we have in Bollywood.
Thankfully, what has happened, Mithun, Ayushmann, Pallavi, they're all playing characters in the film, which is beautiful. It's never been a moment where there is a hero, there's a heroine, and there's I'm the senior, I'm the junior. It's never been like that. They've all three played they've beautifully written characters, and they're playing it as characters, not as the hero and the heroine of the film. And Mithunda's role, yes, like what you said, it's based on Subbarao Shastri, Shivkar Talpade's guru, so as to say, someone who introduces him to to the world of flights and to the world of planes. But the way we've conceived the role, again, very little is available about him, even lesser than Talpade online. So what I've tried and completely imagined it in a different realm altogether. Mithunda, I think, is playing a role of a lifetime. I've never seen him like this. He's never seen himself like that, like what he's playing in the film. And what he's doing in the film is incredible. I think the audience will be completely stunned by his performance. He's so, and I think he's a really underrated actor today. He's a brilliant actor. He's a winner of 3 national awards, which is very rare. He was a huge matinee star, so as to say, huge superstar. But he's not gotten
he's done a humongous number of C-grade films as well.
Exactly. But he's never gotten his due. And I think in this film, you would fall in love with Shastri and Mithunda both. He's so incredible in the film.
Fantastic. Something about the music of the film, as you were telling me, I think Vishal Bhardwaj has composed one song as well.
I assisted Vishal sir on Blue Umbrella years back. I was a kid then. And he's always been very kind and loving to me, very supportive of me. He's always been very, very, very encouraging. When I was writing this film, when I was setting out to make it, there was no way that he would not be attached. So I just went to him and I said, I know that you are very, very, very busy. He's a producer of great repute and a director, composer. He does background scores, he writes dialogues. He's incredibly talented and so busy as a person. And I just went in and begged and I said, my film will not be complete if you do not give at least one song. And he said, okay. I literally stole him from his Heather recce's, and it was during one of his recce's in Kashmir when he mailed me the song that this is what I've hummed, see if it works for you. And what it was magical. And then I literally pursued him, pushed him into the studio and said, please record this song for me before you go. Rekha Di sang it. Okay. And I think the combination is divine. And Vishal sir has also done this sort of music after a long, long time.
Who's written the lyrics?
I've written the lyrics.
And I think Rochak has composed a couple of songs.
Rochak has done incredible songs for me. I was introduced to Rochak through Ayushman. And then I think I and Rochak are better friends than me and Ayushman.
Okay.
And I think he's a very, very, very talented musician. Again, what I love about him is because he's very impulsive and instinctive as a composer. We've actually composed songs sitting in our office where I have thrown lines at him and he's composed it right then and there. And then he's given me melodies and I have written it then and there. And so many times it has happened to me that once he's composed, I've always gone back and said, nahi yaar, itni jaldi kaise ho gaya yaar? I think we should mull over it. And we've gone back and redid the same song in 2 different other versions and still stuck to the first one that he had made. So he's outstanding. And then there is Mangesh, who's done a couple of songs for me. Again, very incredible musician. There's a complete difference between Rochak and Mangesh, because Rochak is very instinctive, very impulsive, very audience, and Mangesh is somewhere very talented, very educated musician. So it's an amalgamation of both of them, and of course Vishal sir is there. So it's got its own color, its own freshness. The whole music, it's very different from what you hear every day.
And you have written lyrics for all the songs?
Yes. I've written all of them.
Lovely talking to you, Vibhu, and all the best wishes for the movie. And we really hope that the idea is fantastic. We really hope that the execution is that good as well.
So I'm praying.
That's all we from Bollywood Hungama. Keep on watching.